Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by saying welcome to those who are attending our webinar. I'm Nazira, co-founder and CEO of Vendorship, Inc. It's great to have you here. Thank you to our speakers, Tricia Dempsey and Seema Kohli and Seth Nachiappan for joining us today, and they're lending their experience and expertise. So thank you. Today's topic is process and results oriented, and how do we move from purpose to results. So we hope that our discussion will contribute to a meaningful and constructive discussion. We are happy to have with us our Vendorship team in the back end, Madhu, Susan, Charlie, Ramya, and Sabina. Thank you again. So I'm going to do a brief introduction of our panelists, and I know each one of you have a lot of accomplishments, and but I'm going to make it brief, and as we discuss, people will understand from your experience how well with your thoughts and insights, they're going to learn a lot. So Tricia is the CEO of Tribe Hub. And basically in this company, Tricia, you help motivate women CEOs towards purpose-fueled businesses that they love. So you help build them along with their company. You move it from action-oriented approach is the key to your overcoming adversity in the past, or even for any of the insights that you provide to your customers as well. You have been a driving force and growth and success of the IT recruiting firm Agile. So Tricia, as I was reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so accomplished. I think it started in like 2003, 96, and then 2003, you went into many other ventures as well. And I also read about you went through stage 3 breast cancer, and at the same time, you're trying to develop this company. So we would love to hear how did that work out, and we keep talking about work-life balance, right? So you're also a recipient of several awards. You've been a board member of Women in Technology. In 2016, you received the Women in Technology Small Business Woman of the Year, and you are a graduate from your bachelor's and master's from GSU. So welcome, Tricia. Thank you for being here. We have a lot to learn from you today, and we're very excited.
Thank you.
Seema is the Vendorship's Director for Proposal Management, and I think the topic today is also on management. So we definitely want to talk about proposal management, Seema. Thank you for being here. You've been in the proposal management field for a long time. You're also Scrum Master certified, which is great. And we know your motto is be optimistic and grow each day with positivity. And that's certainly needed and was needed in 2020, Seema.
Thank you.
Say from what I know of you, there's so much more, but I can see sometimes you are a man of few words, but when you do speak, there are punchlines. So, which is good because people remember punchlines. Seth, you are the CEO and founder of On-Site IT Advisors. Apart from that, you believe in developing youth entrepreneurs. I do have questions regarding that and why. And so you are completely into the IT sector field, into the staff augmentation, IT recruiting firm. And we have a lot to learn from you because I think your ideas and thoughts are very unique and interesting. And we might have a few points to pick on you today and for you to give us the feedback as well. So thank you, Sid, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Before we go into our core questions, I do have a general question for all of you, and I'll start with Tricia. Tricia, what is one lesson or skill that you've learned during the lockdown COVID-19?
I think the biggest thing that has caused my business to pivot in COVID times is to get, this is going to sound very un-IT, and I know a lot of you come from the IT background, is to get away from the automations and back to human contact. So when I've gotten back on the phone, back sending personal emails, back reaching out to people to check and see how they're doing, my business has in Q4 almost quadrupled over what it did the first 3 quarters of the year. So it's really been getting back to the basics of what I love doing, which is building relationships with really high performing CEOs and women. And so that has been the biggest lesson more than anything.
Trisha, wow, that's a unique answer, because all these months we've been discussing how to automate, and that's the lesson everybody's learning, the government sector. So it's good to know, going back to the basics of human relationship also matters.
Yeah.
So that's something I'll remember as well. And so how about you, Seema? What was the one lesson or skill that you've learned during the lockdown 2020?
In 2020, basically, what pandemic and the whole year made me learn was appreciate the relationships you have, appreciate the knowledge, and capture the time that you have to spend widening your field of knowledge, and also spending time with your family and friends is what I learned. And be optimistic all the time.
Very nice. And you'll be surprised to know, I don't know if you all are already hearing, or if the audience is already hearing about this, but some of the parents are really not very happy sending the kids back to school, because that's the norm. It's not just because of the COVID, but it's like, oh my gosh, now they get to have lunch with us, and we're sitting and, in between their classes, we're actually talking to each other. So very nice. I think COVID did help us build those relationships stronger. So Seth, how about you?
Thank you. What did I learn? Actually, what I learned is like in the family environment, we can actually achieve a lot. That is completely new to us. We all thought, it has in the corporate world, we have to go to the office, we have to get things done. That is how everything was processed. If office shut down, everything will shut down. But it is not the case, actually. It actually doubled the performance, and almost, none of the big corporations, corporates, did the, major change or anything like that. They've been growing, business is booming, and they are accomplishing everything. So whatever the myth what we had, it is not true anymore.
Definitely.
It's a major change. That's what I learned.
Very nice. So you don't have to have a physical space and away from family to prove results. Very, very well said. Thank you, Seth. I think we would agree with all of you on what you've said. Trisha, my next question for you is about time management, right? I can tell you I'm not good at it, and I'm not happy to admit it, but that keeps me awake at nights when I've not finished a task. But it's very important. So nobody can deny time management is not important. It's very important for any professionals, in any industry, to produce, to manage effectively, right? For productivity. How do you prioritize tasks, and how should one prioritize tasks?
Yeah, so I think if I were to add kind of to your first question, a second skill I've really learned this year, which is to really simplify, to amplify everything. So just super simplification of my life. And then one of the things that I teach this to Thrivers in our Passport program is I really focus less on time management and more on results management. And part of that is sitting down at the beginning of the week and thinking about what I want to produce this week. And so I go back in, I kind of make a master list of everything I need to do at the beginning of every single week. And then I go back and actually time block what I want to produce this week, not necessarily how I manage my time this week, but what I want to produce this week. So if I finish early, I don't add anything to the list. I finish early, I'm done. If I don't finish, then I try to move those time blocks to later in the week and give myself a little bit more time. But I really I do more like awareness management. What are the top priorities? What results do I want to drive this week? What do I want to produce this week? Versus how do I manage every hour of every day, which I think is partially a mindset I've gotten living. I now live in a very, very remote area in South Carolina, and there's not a lot of hustle bustle about this area. And the whole thing that I was in Atlanta, where I was constantly on the hamster wheel and going to the next thing. And I just drove back from Atlanta today, and I'm like, when I come back, I'm just like this, is just really simplifying everything about life, how I eat, how I spend time with family and friends, but mostly how I drive results, not necessarily focus on the time, but focus on awareness of what I want to produce.
Very well said. Because my next question to you was, how do you limit distraction? So you said all of us should move to South Carolina.
There's nothing to do here, so it totally eliminates distractions. I don't have, I'm at this luxury. I wish somebody would have told me, I think this is a good thing for your audience to hear too. I wish somebody would have told me that when your kids get graduated and they go to college, you have this whole second career. I wish people would have told me that. I tried to squeeze it all in my 30s and 40s. And what I'm realizing now is that there's just this whole life of being on my own time and really not having any distractions of stopping and doing this and moving and doing that. And it's been liberating. It's been my favorite decade. For those of you who are getting ready to hit 50, I just hit 51 last week. It's been my favorite decade because I feel there's just a lot of freedom of time and energy because I'm not worried about my kids and what she's doing every waking moment of the day. I'm just focused on me, and I wish somebody would have told me that in my 30s and 40s for sure.
Wow, very well said, and thank you, Tricia. So probably I should stop using time management, because I think if I need to talk to Seth, he's going to agree with that. He doesn't believe in time management. What he believes is in task management. So so tell us about that, Seth. Why not time and why task?
Great question. I definitely want to answer that part. Time management actually creates anxiety.
Yes.
Because when life is a life, right? So when we miss certain tasks in that time period, what happens is, it accumulates something within our mind, as if we didn't do anything. And then it creep up. At the end of the day, evening, maybe night, we feel so unaccomplished. And it creates anxiety. It's a very bad thing. If we do continuously, we cannot accomplish anything. So I strongly believe in task management because it is very easy. As Tricia said, I put only top five things in a day. And, if I finish it, not if I finish, I finish it actually, and pretty much done. What it creates in your mind is a freedom that you achieved more, the next day, what we can accomplish, right? But the five things is inclined to what we wanted to accomplish in our life. It is not something completely random every day, right? The everyday five things is a connection.
Yes.
Right? In the free time that we can do whatever we wanted, not in the task, but the task is actually related to the success principle that we follow, or whatever the thing that we want to accomplish. That is what I believe in. And it gives you a lot of happiness. And if some people ask, how do you accomplish all these things? We can easily say that it is, I just follow task management. And as a matter of fact, I learned it from somebody, one of the business owner, I know him. He is running 17 companies. And he calls me and said that I feel like I do have a lot of time. I want to do something.
We need to meet this person.
He seriously, and he asked, seriously, hey, do you have any opportunity that we can work together? And he always says, like, only we need to have 80% filled up, 20% always has to be open.
That's right.
It doesn't matter how many things you do, 20% has to be always open. The feeling itself is the happiness.
Definitely. So
Seth, can I just add one thing to what Seth just said?
Sure,
Seth,
yeah.
I love you already. So I have another thing that I think about too, that I teach a lot of time, is this energy of 80% done in the first sitting. So I think we as women, and maybe Seth, you might struggle with this too, but we as women, we want to perfect it all and make it just perfect before we give it to anybody. And so I've started getting in this mindset of, I sit down to do a task, I allot an hour and a half to manage that result. And wherever I am in an hour and a half, I want to get 80% done. And then I want to put it to the side, let my brain marinate on it again, come back and finish that last 20%, but really trying to get, no matter what it is, 100 slide PowerPoint deck, whatever takes a really long time, just really map out something to that level of doneness, and then have time to mull on it and come back to it in a second segment. So
very well said. Thank you. So Seth, then let me ask you, should all tasks have clear owners?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes. Should all tasks have clear owners? Like each task, should it be like randomly, or should it have clear owners of that task so it's complete?
I am the owner. All my 5 tasks is my owner. I am the ownership.
Okay.
Nobody else.
But when you run a business, when you're running a business, there might be beyond 5 tasks.
Yeah. In that case, when you're splitting, the 5 is top
Okay,
5,
for
right?
you,
It
yes.
is mine. And the rest of the things, even when I actually wanted to, somebody have to operate on that 90% of the thing, 10% belongs to me, and then 90% has to be in that task list.
Okay.
Okay, so I teach people to be in a task-oriented people and finish it on the same day rather than postponing it. Okay. So when it comes to the task, I am not putting somebody's task. I am putting my task. Okay. My task, maybe percentage wise, maybe I'll have only 10% ownership. 90% is owned by somebody else. But still, I do have a communication. I make sure that is being done also.
Let me ask you this question. Maybe you've not faced through this, but I would still like to know, because you're sort of, we feel, a perfected person. So can you describe a situation in which you were late to complete a task and hence missed a deadline? How did you manage that situation?
Okay, so this is a very, very good question. So what I learned, propagating that same task to the next day, it doesn't look good. Okay. If I do certain part of the task is done, I create a different task name very next day for the portion which I have not done it. Okay. So what is the problem that we will create in our mind once we start putting the same task unfinished, going back to same 4 or 5 days in a week? That means we are creating a practice where we are not going to get done anything. Okay.
So Seth, then are you saying even if it takes till midnight to do those 5 tasks?
Absolutely. As Trisha said, it is not the late, it is the beginning of the day. As much as can, 80%, if I do that, in the early part of the day, and we can finish it off. And then we can even take a nap, we can take a sleep, and then you can go finish the rest of the things. If I push it to the night, what will happen is I start cheating myself that I feel like I'm working harder. If I, self-pity kick in and it says, oh, I'm working really hard, I'm not working really hard. I missed that part. I should have done it in the morning itself, in the daytime itself. Some other tasks we can push it to the night and then we finish it. But if the task is owned by me and it is related to my business and it is going to give me success, definitely we will not be tired also. There are so many days, actually, I woke up all of a sudden at 3 o'clock. I worked till 6 o'clock and then all of a sudden go to bed again.
Definitely.
So it is our own task. It is not, nobody else is actually controlling. Nobody knows also.
Definitely. Very well said. I've already picked up a point or two. Go ahead, Trisha.
I was going to say, I'll add one thing to that, because I think Seth brings up a great point, which is, I'm a big believer in trust. And the first circle of trust starts with our trust of ourselves. So if we're bad estimators, which then run into going over on our time, which then results in moving the task to the next day, we don't even trust our word. So I think it's really important when you really give yourself, and I like this phrase of giving myself luxurious amounts of time to finish things, not to indulge in not finishing it, but to be generous and give myself time for, I get a call in the middle of the task period and somebody calls me, or, my kid needs me, or I need to go drop off the dogs, or whatever the case would be. So I think when you start with yourself and you're trusting of how you estimate time, and then you fulfill that day after day after day after day, now my word to myself is always trustworthy, which means then my word to you, Nazira, or to Seth, or to Seema becomes trustworthy. And that is how you really strengthen teams and companies and communities and all of the things. So I know that sounds so ethereal and big, but I think it all starts with our own trust of ourselves first, for sure.
And it goes to a perfect segue towards Seema's question, which is about building companies, and of course the employees or the team members in the company do build. So the team members within, whether it's a task or time management, Seema, the team members need to feel connected, exactly knowing the impact they are making in the organization and their achievements, right? So how important is it for the team members or the employees to know the mission and the purpose of the organization?
I think it's the utmost important thing, because if we don't have that mission, we cannot perform or we cannot fulfill any of the thing. So as Seth and Trisha said, that 80% is us, and of course we have to do that. And if we don't do that, then there is no trust, and then there is no motivation also to look forward to. If we don't finish one, how can you go on to the second one? We cannot just keep on jumping back and forth. So that trust factor, that motivation is between yourself, about yourself, and with the team members, is the main foundation to build a strong relationship and strong team for the organization, I think.
So Seema, should the team members feel, or even particular team member or each team member feel confident in their abilities to contribute? And basically I'm asking what, their impact or the contribution to the organization, and why it's important that they know what they're contributing. Because there are times when one person doesn't know what the other is doing.
Absolutely, that is very important. And I do get that point, that one person doesn't know what the other is doing. And that's what is called relationship building and connectivity building. Those are the roots that we are grounding to build a strong foundation. So if the roots are not strong, if that understanding is not there, if that openness is not there, the communication channel is not open, we cannot move forward. So to build that strong, each and every team member plays an absolute important role in the organization.
And they should feel it as well.
Absolutely.
The
And if they don't feel, we need to make them realize that they are important too.
Very nice. Thank you, Seema. So, and that goes to leadership, right, Trisha? So, coming back to leadership. So, leadership practices and qualities are very crucial for employees as well, right? So, when I used to be in the county government, I was always told to stay in the lane. And, there's a culture, you can't break the culture. And I went and did exactly the opposite, right? I bumped into several lanes. So I don't know if when people say you have to stay in your lane, that sort of frustrates me because they've limited themselves. But that's just me. So it goes back to a management, right? Sometimes there are blind spots where we don't understand our employees, or it can be difficult to understand their traits or what motivates them. So tell me. How important is the culture in an organization? How should the leadership relay that, not just the appreciation of employees, but relay the culture of how the culture should be, or what promotes productivity and results? And if you can talk about that a little bit, Trisha.
It's such a big topic, Nazira. It's too big. It's too big. No, I think it's so, culture are all of this spider web of a million things that we don't even understand how it impacts people, from what we recognize to our mission, vision, values, which kind of people traditionally think about as culture, but what we recognize, the size of the offices people sit in, the way that we, eat together at lunch, the way we celebrate success, the way we do all of the things. And when I ran Agile, I used to describe to people that we had a culture of high trust and high accountability. And so I think it's important to be able to distill the trust down to some core values and some things that give people the guardrails to operate within, at the same time being able to create norms in your company, but give room for innovation, which has to be sometimes outside of the norms, and most of the time outside of the norms. But I think it's critical, and here's the thing that I've realized is the culture always starts with the CEO, always, always, always. And then it's my job to communicate it down to the next level, to hire for it down to the next level, because then they'll hire for it down to their next level and their next level and their next level. But, you know, I think we used to have a really protective culture at Agile where, you know, as we were hiring people, unless they were like a hell yes, then they were a hell no, because anytime we ever hired somebody that we did not feel 100% strong about, we ended up not having a good result on the back end. So I think culture is our hiring practices, you know, literally how we lead our team in the lobby and looking at the awards that they have in the lobby. This is like usually the first indication of what they value. So if it's customer satisfaction, if it's fast growth, if it's whatever it is, if it's customer satisfaction, you already know that that's the kind of company that takes really good care of its people. You know, so you pick up on all these clues just watching, I mean, a little bit of everything when you walk into a company. So it's such a big question. I don't know if that even answered your question. But
so let me ask you this. I think you literally answered a lot, which I had never even thought about. Like, I never thought about lunch practices. Like, how do you have lunch as a team, you know? So that's very good that you brought up some of those things that we take for granted. So which soft skills are most important for a good leader to have?
Oh my gosh. I think communication and focus would be at the top of my list. The ability to have constraint, so picking one focused thing at a time. Nazira, you asked the question earlier about, you know, what if two people are splitting a task? And my coach used to say to me all the time, when two people are responsible for feeding a dog, the dog usually starves because one person thinks they fed him in the morning, the other thinks they fed him in the evening, and the dog didn't get fed at all today. So I think constraint on number of goals or specificity of goals. So really getting super focused on what has the highest leverage, and then really communicating the why behind everything. Like, I'm going to roll out this new comp plan. Here's exactly why. You know, we're going to go after this customer base over the next year. Let me help you understand why, what we know about the market, where we know about things are shifting and heading and blah, blah. And I feel like when we start with why from a communication standpoint, and then we're super focused, people can play with us. People can play in the game with us. Where they get really confused is when we're trying to focus on multiple, you know, there's all kinds of research on the number of goals you have relative to the numbers you can actually execute in a year's time. At Agile, we used to have one goal every year. One. So everybody knew what the goal was. It was super constrained. And then we all understood the cascading goals underneath of that one goal by department, and what the lead measures were that would get us to that goal. More than anything else, we would focus, you know, our staff would get involved on developing the lead measures to get us that one goal. So I think communications, constraint, focus, those would be some of my top skills for sure.
Very good, because you're sort of giving away my next question already all the time, Trisha. But I do want to ask you this question, Trisha. Have you said to anyone, stay in your lane?
I never. I think that's such a thing that people say to people in corporate America. I do not. I kind of like it a little messy. I will say I like it a little messy from the standpoint of, I think the people that are on the front lines impact the bottom line the most. So I really love to hear from them. I love to get their perspective and what makes a difference for them, how we can serve our clients better, how we can deliver faster, all of the things. So I like getting down to the front lines because I think that has the biggest impact for sure. And sometimes, you know, nobody would ever think to ask the executive admin how we should do certain things, but she knows more than most anybody in that company most of the time.
Definitely. Yes, I would agree to that. So Seth, let's talk about project management. We talked about task and time management, right? And project management is not just about tasks and assignments. It's about communication and collaboration. Tell me, in this corporate culture, in this current times, are we communicating enough with each other? Number one. Number two, there might be times there's a lot of miscommunication. There might be times when team members have to be present in a place where it's not even relevant to them. But do you think communicating more is always not bad, or just keep communicating less? What are your thoughts?
Well, so when it comes to the management, project management, I don't like management things. We have to lead from the front. Okay. So when it comes to this one, specifically when you are asking for communication, right? Too much of communication is also a chaos. Okay, and less communication also is not good at all. Okay, and we need to understand the psychology behind why this happens. Less communication and too much communication, right? It is because of the leader who is actually handling this project. Okay, anytime when you handle 10 people, right, there is a negativity creeping. Okay, let's say you put a 5 people team, and the 5 people team is really working harder to achieve the project, and then now we are adding another 4 or 5 people, and your focus actually goes to the new 4 or 5 people, and then start working with them and all other things, leaving the first five. Automatically the first five slow down. They themselves, they will be talking slow. They will not be really communicating with you properly or with other people. That's where the negativity starts. Okay, and what we did a major mistake of keeping the high performance people to be quiet. Right, so slowly within that 5 people start talking, oh, there is a new team came, all other things, and I don't know whether we are doing right, this, that. You're not listening. The people, sometimes the biggest noise is somebody's calmness, right? So when somebody is calm, we have to listen. Man, what is going on? Why somebody is really calm? When you start working with them, and then the real communication starts. That's where the leadership comes in, and then we actually give them power to empower the new people, right? Even though the new people can be maybe technologically or experienced, it doesn't matter who is actually the people mind is like, people don't care how much until how much you care, right? So this is about care. When the care comes, they will actually communicate well, and then our communication will slow down. So it is a very, very simple thing, but it as a leader, a lot of people don't understand that part. I'm going to expand the team, I'm going to get the job done. I would if the team is not communicating right, it is important, the project will never get executed at all. It will, they make sure it fails.
Yeah.
They make sure it fails, because it's not one Seth is going to finish that one. The other 10 people, even 2 people wanted to create a complication, they will do it because of the communication, what we actually created in that part. Okay, and one more thing is very, very, very crucial. We need to communicate to the people what is going to happen because of this project. Okay, if somebody don't know anything about this one, I want to get the job done, it is not going to be successful, right? What is the impact? What is the impact for you? What is the impact for the team? What is the impact for the organization? What is the impact in general because of this project? Let's say it's a government project. This is what is going to happen, even in government also, right? There is a big, reason behind everything. If you put it into a small block, you get this one done and you get away, and it is going to be a, no vision process. They will not get the things done. That's all, I would say.
Very, very well said. So Seth, have you ever said to anyone, do it now, period?
Well, I would do in a different format. I would do it in a different format. Okay. If this happens, today, this is what is going to impact, if we finish 4 o'clock submission, and we will be gaining this, project, and which essentially, you will have one more person to help you out. We're going to hire one more person to, every human is looking for somebody to help them out. right? So we may start doing that one, and genuinely, it's not you cannot really make out things continuously for a longer period of time. So genuinely, if you do that, people will actually work and get that things done.
Very nice. I
I,
think from
I won't
Trish.
demand people actually.
Okay, well said. Thank you, Seth. And I thought that's what I expected from you as well. So Trisha sort of said the hiring process has to be very vetted out, well vetted out, and maybe the perfect might not be the perfect and might not last long. And Seth, you sort of said silence is speaks a lot, right? So
That was a great point.
Yeah,
That was great.
especially one who's communicating well and goes into silence in a team, really something is bothering them, and how do you bring that out? So with that, Seema, my next question for you is, now that in 2020 we've all gone mostly virtual, and we've not sometimes seen each other because we don't go to a physical space office where we have our own offices or cubicles, and it's just completely different. But so how effective have meetings been during this year? Have they been helpful and productive? And what are the key to productive meetings?
Yes, so we have learned to live in this world where we are not like seeing each other, like the virtual living. And I think everybody is thinks they are more accountable. They give more time to that, because the transparency is there now. More of transparency is there. Even if you're not meeting virtually, you know what's going on. So, and the communications are open. So I think this has even given us another view to look at it, that the work can be done even if you're virtual, and people are honest about it. If they have something, they will let you know, because they know there is trust factor there. So
Yes.
that's, I think, this is important, and it has been a productive. I have myself, we have seen in our company, it's like we are very open, even though we are not meeting, but we know how to communicate, being transparent, and get the message across the board. And
Okay,
everyone is
well,
accountable also for their thing. It's not nobody's taking their jobs lightly or their task lightly. So
very well said. So, Seema, this is a question I just want to put out there. Do you think if this is going to be the norm for some more time or many more months, should people come on screen, or should they just come on audio if it's a video call?
no, I would prefer to come on screen, because even if we are virtual, if we are on screen, that gives at least the feeling that you are there, like kind of in a conference room or something. So I would definitely prefer everybody to come on screen rather than just being on the phone.
Okay, that's a good one, because I always try to ask one or two people, so making sure, because I agree with that what you just said. So Seema, talk about a specific. So you do proposal management, especially for in the government sector for the clients. Talk to us about any obstacles, or what can be improved in this process. Like, is there do you need anything else or tools that to make it happen? Does the client understand you? Because it's still virtual, it's very hard, you've never met that person, and here you are giving instructions. And so speak to us about specifically how that has worked for you, and what has not worked.
Yes, so it has worked. It is kind of, being virtual definitely is kind of little bit hard, but it's not impossible. The main challenges I've faced, I think, in this sector is people just wants to go to the top level, immediately wants to go to the top hanging fruits. My parents always said, try to focus on the sun, but always catch the stars. So people have always thought about going to the first day, we want to do this top things, but there are some low hanging fruits also which are just going waste because nobody is considering them. So that under that to make them understand that is sometimes kind of a challenging thing, because they come with a mindset that no, we are in the business for so many years, we should just target for high things. No, but you should always, when you are in the public sector, you are new to the public sector, you are a newbie there, so you need to go step by step rather than going at the top and then falling and not achieving what you are here for. So that's the biggest challenge, is what I think, is something. Sometimes it's hard for us to explain it to the people, to the
Okay,
company.
sure. And Trisha is already thinking, why didn't I meet Seema almost in 2000 when she was running the IT firm company? So.
I know. Nazira, I'm curious because I manage one employee at Thrive Her, but I know you guys all manage more. I'm curious how it's changed your leadership and how you've led virtually. Like, what are you doing differently, or what's both improved and been a challenge? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so I can spend just a few seconds because I do want to hear from Seth as well, and I have the next question for you. I think the leadership mindset has to change. It cannot be the same about micromanagement at all. And I've never been so personally, I can talk to you that I've never been a micromanager. So I trust and believe in the leaders of the team. I never allow the team to call me a boss. We don't have so here's the deal, Trisha, we don't have a hierarchy in our company yet. We are all in the horizontal growth. We're all growing equally. There's no one person on top who's growing more than the others. And I think that trust and confidence that we've built in each other, and believe it or not, there are few people who've not even met when they were hired. So we grew exponentially as well during this time. But I think that leadership style to not micromanage, to trust and believe in the accountability of the deliverables with the team members. It's hard for me to even call them staff. They're my team. Like I'm a part of the team, So that's just me. Many might not agree, but definitely it has worked out very well for us, and we feel like we are an extended family. And each of the team members will say that to you. Seth, just because Trisha asked, has your leadership style changed during this time, or it has only enhanced how you've been before?
Even before that also I was like that, so I didn't see much of the changes. But one thing at this point of time is giving the leadership and allowing the other people to make mistakes is a part of the culture now for me. I let them make enough mistake. That's okay. I even tell them, so it's okay to make mistake and come back. What are the mistakes that you've done? We will discuss it. That's how everyone grew. And this all, this is your pattern. You also will grow. And so allowing them to try different things in this period, will make them a little easier.
Seth, do you say those words in a sarcastic manner or in a calm way?
Manner.
Okay.
I expect them to make mistake.
Okay, awesome.
Otherwise, the process will not start.
Very nice.
The fear will make people not to start. The moment I said, okay, make mistake, it's okay, then the process at least will start.
Very, very well said. So that goes to my next question for Trisha, is which is more important, process oriented or results oriented?
Wrong question to the wrong person.
But I am a person that really has strong process background too. So I think results in the context of how we accomplish them through our core values, probably most important. And then secondly, accomplishing results that can be repeated and scaled is where the process comes in. So if we want to accomplish them once, I think the results oriented is usually my default approach. If we want to accomplish them multiple times and we want to accomplish them more efficiently and we want to accomplish them at scale, you've got to bring the process in for sure.
Very nice. And see, I'm a results oriented person, so I have the team members who take care of the process, and so that's what happens. But tell us a challenging situation where you've experienced, Trisha, while working on a project, and how did you deal with it, and what did you learn? And you can bring up even from a decade ago or even recently, any challenges that you faced.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many, right? I've run 4 businesses now, and I have a longer list of failures and things that didn't go right as a shorter list of things that did go right. But I would say, like this year, I had this issue where I had gotten to a point of selling a particular product that we have called Pinpoint Your Purpose. And we had sold that to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women. And I thought that the right move was going to be to move it to what's called an evergreen format, which you guys might be familiar with. You might do your webinars that way, but people log in, they say, I want to watch this right now. You give them the opportunity to watch it now. It sends them down a sales funnel. It's a very automated process. It's a very non-human process. And so I worked for about 3 months implementing this process so that I could free up my time from having to talk to the people, which is the right thing, probably too early, but it still, I think, is the right strategy. And man, that tanked my revenue. Not only that, it happened during COVID. So, I had like a double tanking of my revenue. And I would say it took me probably, because I was so committed to that strategy, it took me probably longer than it usually takes me to pivot out of it. And so once I understood it was not going to work the way that we had set it up, and I was spending gobs of money on Facebook ads trying to drive traffic to it. And I think I hit 1 month where I was like negative 27,000 on my P&L, and I was like, I probably ought to rethink this strategy. But I think, those are some of the things I find that happen to me innovation-wise, because I think innovation for the majority of time, Edison created the light bulb, I think on his, I don't know how many tries it took him to create the light bulb. Most things don't work, or most things need time to be refined. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is if you're going to make a shift, make sure you have enough cash to weather it in a way that you're going to get it there eventually, but you're not stressed about getting it there. So whether you're I met with a client this morning and we're putting together their whole sales process. They've never had one before. And I'm like, you've got to be patient. Like just because I come in to help you doesn't mean we flick a switch and then all of a sudden the money machine starts. You have to be patient to invest in the innovation, because when those things do pay off, they're huge, but you've got to have the patience and you've got to set aside the budget to be able to make those mistakes. So I've had lots of those, but that was my big lesson of 2020 for sure, was automating things too soon, and then really not having the cash to be able to let the innovation get to a stabilized state for sure. And then pull the plug, and it creates a bunch of chaos, and you're back to, I'm sure, Seth, you've been there, right? You've been there, I'm sure, but you're back to people are unsure what to work on. They're not sure what your goals are. Oh, that failed, this concept of failed. And I'm like, to me, failure is either we won or we learned.
Right.
Either way, we're winning. But just creating so much chaos when you're not committed longer term to riding through the bumpy parts of changing strategy, for sure.
Definitely, Tricia. I think Seema and I can very much relate to that. Exactly what you said. That and she mentioned early, things just doesn't happen tomorrow or yesterday. No. It takes its time, but you're investing right now in that innovation and the new tool and the new product, and you'll start to see the fruition. Yes. So yes, and I'm going to use some of your words that you used. I sort of liked it. It was more, integrating. So I said, young entrepreneurs, right, or young leaders. I think the brief conversation we had a few weeks ago, you said something like, if they become successful, if I'm able to help create their success story, that adds to my success story. So you said that. So tell us about why developing young leaders or young entrepreneurs is good.
Well, great question. So basically, the whole world runs because of the businesses, right? All the entrepreneurs actually created this world. So when we start any business, there is a destination. Okay, there is a destination, there is a journey, right? When the journey starts, I may start by myself, but along the way, how many people are actually coming with me, right? And while I'm actually taking them, what are the seeds actually I'm putting so that the other people who is following, can, I may not really even enjoy those, but other people will enjoy, right? So this is not the new thing. It is being, established like that. So we just follow the very successful principles of very high achieved entrepreneurs. They feel, once they, once I create my success, and I reach to the destination only by myself. When I look back, nobody is following, nobody is doing anything, nobody is cheering. Then,
You don't
it is a
feel a
frustration.
legacy. Yes, you don't feel a legacy there.
Yeah, it's a frustration. Even the success itself is a frustration, right? So along the way, how many people am bringing them? Okay, when I bring them, there are a lot of people get deviated. There are a lot of people will get angry. A lot of people will, it doesn't matter. In my journey, whoever is joining, whoever is coming along, they will be helped, right? In both ways, I'm helping them, they are helping me, right? In the journey is going, but in between there would be a lot of things would happen. They will stop, they won't come, they will, they will turn back. It's their journey, it's not my journey, right? So end of the story, when he achieved to a level where we promised to myself, okay, this is my see, destination is always a variable destination. Once I reached, I won't be happy there, I would be actually starting from there to somewhere else. At that point of time, there would be a different sort of people will be coming, right? So every journey starts somewhere, from one place to other place. When I pack my suitcase, there would be people coming with me. There would be people, they won't even care, I don't know where you are going. So when we reach there, there is a message we are giving to the people. Okay, you are not alone, you are actually bringing people together. We succeed, and we celebrate it, and I am a big believer of profit sharing methodologies. I'm not really like a employee relationship thing. I'm a profit sharing methodology, so it works out really well, because we work on people's mind and heart. So when they succeed to a certain level, they realize, okay, I can do it better than him, whatever, their journey starts.
Very well said. And yes, definitely entrepreneurs are the core of developing communities and people. So a great job. Keep at it, Sid. So Seema, let's talk about stress management. Yeah. So we talked about project management, task and time management. Tell us, how do you manage stress?
It's a hard question and an easy question both, Nazira, because it's like when you are too much stressed, of course, in these days, there is stress of work, stress of kids, personal and professional level both. So the way to manage stress is not to get stressed, or not, it should not to be at that level where it should start impacting your personality or your work or your way of thinking. So the way I manage my stress is just leave everything for some time, just assemble myself together before and jump back again, basically, is what I try to do, rather than just shattering myself broken into pieces and then crying. It's not worth it, So it's better to take some time off if you have to. Just try to discover yourself, meditate, or whatever works for you. Go out for a walk or listen to the music or whatever. Spend some time on yourself and get back again into the race.
Definitely. So we have a few more minutes. I just want to make sure we go to the questions, if any asked as well. But what we've learned so far is to have an efficient organization. The process is important. The management roles are very important. The environment or the culture that has been created in that organization is very important to thrive, right? So Trisha, my next question is for you. Let's talk about Thrive Her. Yeah. So you are the CEO. You help female CEOs see their potential and help manage manage whatever their goals are. But why only her?
Part of the journey because we really help CEOs run profitable businesses that are really powered by purpose. And in part of the discovery journey of my own purpose, one of the things that I realized looking back in my history of everything I've done, I mean, since I was a little girl, and I think about my grandmother, women have been such an influential part of my life. And when I looked back and I started thinking of when you talk about purpose, you really talk about three pieces. One is who you want to serve. The second is how you leverage your God-given strengths. And then what impact do you want to leave on people? And we do this exercise called the timeline, and we go back and write stories of our peak and valley moments in our life. And one of the things I realized when I looked at all of my stories, they were all female stories, all of them. No matter whether they were good or not good, they were really female stories. I served on female boards, Susan G. Komen or Women in Technology. I've just always been drawn to it. My top performers in my companies were females. I don't know. There's something about helping women that I understand the balance that they're trying to create all the time. That if you are a highly ambitious, high-performing woman, you have a first shift in your job and you have a second shift when you walk in the house. And it's really, really challenging to navigate all that and still personally thrive. So when I was really thinking about, gosh, when I had Agile, there were so many days I came home and just in tears. Just the ability to handle it all was enormous. And I really took a step back. I was thinking about this. My husband wrote me a birthday card last week, and it was probably, he's not a man of many words, but he's a great birthday card writer. And in the birthday card, he expressed that this was the first year that he's ever seen me in alignment with everything I love, the things that energize me. And as a result of being in that alignment, that I've become very lovable for him. And that was the nicest compliment I could have ever gotten. But what we try to do as women is we're trying to be all things to all people. We're trying to do our first shift as well as we do our second shift every day. And I just really feel like women are suffering because of that. And I just have a heart for helping that. And I've seen it be successful. And then I would say this year I'm starting to really master what that could look like in terms of just enjoyment and ease and flow of my day, where all I did in my younger years was strive all the time, constantly in strive mode versus thrive mode. And so I don't know, it really came through my own purpose journey. And then once I knew that, I knew this company had to be really in service to women.
Very nice.
I love men, by the way. I love men. Men are a big part of my life. Seth, I love you already. It was funny. I was at a women's event last year, a couple years ago, on International Women's Day, and they were bashing some men in the middle of the thing. And I stood up in the audience and I said, and I grabbed the mic and I said, I would not be here without my dad and my husband. I love men. I'm 100% pro men. I just happen to think women need the support and we have a hard time asking for it. And so
definitely.
Let me say that as a default too.
Very well said. Thank you, Tricia. Seth, what was the trigger that made you decide to start your own business?
I don't like to be, get orders from somebody. I would like to help people.
You like to give orders?
No, I would like to help people. I put that statement also next. I'm against that. And, and also we need to, create some impact in the industry.
Yes.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
Very well said. Seema, your final question is, talk to us about expectations and realistic expectations. How do you define that?
Expectations are which you dream of. Realistic expectations is what you get.
Is that how you tell a client?
No, the client is different.
Only in webinar.
I need to.
Next time we need to have on our action plan. This is the expectation, but this is not realistic.
No, the realistic expectation is not just what you get, but how to get to your expectations, how to achieve that expectations is how to work on it, basically. How to create that pathway is what the realistic expectations should be. It
Very
should be
nice.
ancient also, as well as practical also.
Definitely. So I know we have probably, I will just take 1 or 2 more minutes, but I want to do a quick one question before we close out with your closing comments. And one of the question is from Susan. She's asking for Tricia, during this time where the work culture is adapting to the virtual work lifestyle, how do you identify and boost the employee or the team's morale?
I probably am not the greatest person to ask about this because I now manage one person and we just love each other like sister, I'm like her mother. And so I constantly, I think I'll go back to my Agile days in boosting employee morale. I think it was the simplest things, a public recognition of going the extra mile, a note that I hand wrote to somebody right before they went out to have a child, an ability to not ever forget people's birthdays and to celebrate the life moments that they have, an opportunity to recognize progress over just results all the time. There's so many ways. So I think as we go into the virtual lifestyle, I don't think much of that has really changed. I think, I sent my employee over this last week a box of these amazing 2 wines that she loved. And oh my gosh, I sent it to one other lady that helps us. And I got like 7 pictures of the box because it was just wrapped beautifully. It was just me going the extra mile saying, I love you. Wrapped beautifully. It had just a beautiful little Christmas thing about it. That was a paper inside, was all coordinated with our colors. And it just was, she could tell I put a lot of personal thought into that. And so it is really just the little things, I think.
The personal touch.
Oh my God. And I'll give you an example. Like when I was at my old company, I sold it to a public company. On my 15th anniversary, this is a non-example. On my 15th anniversary, I got an award in the mail from my headquarters. I actually kept it. I should do a Facebook Live or something on it because this was like a classic example. And it was one of those awards where it bows out, and then there was a sheet of paper. The sheet of paper said, "Happy 15th anniversary." I had to actually take the sheet of paper out and slide it between the glass. And I was like, this award probably cost $20. I'm not even kidding. I was like, no handwritten note from my CEO. No, you've blown it away. We blew it away after they bought us. No, you've blown it away. And I remember opening that, and it was flick the switch immediately. Like, this is not a company that values people. This is not a place that I can stay long term. And so I think about the way I felt that day, and I think about the way I want people to feel when they open something like that from me. And I just put the extra effort into those things.
Yeah, the personal touch and the extra effort you put your thought into it.
Yes.
Exactly. So Seth, let's start with you. Closing comments. We are closing out, and let's make it 30 seconds, and anything you want to bring up about 2021.
2021 is going to be a great year. Actually, it's going to be a fantastic beginning of new models and everything. What I would say, we need to be more responsible because it's a new thing, and day-to-day, task has to be, well defined, aligning with our vision, and also, eliminating as much as distraction. As I said, I think last time I said, I am taking 1 day no media day. Or sometime I take a 14-day break from any medias, not to watch anything, So these type of personal decisions will actually enhance our brain activities, and life situation comes, like that's part of the game, that nothing to worry about it. But always keep it in mind what matters most for me, for us, for the family, for the environment, everything. What matters the most. We have to keep that.
Very well said, Seth, and thank you for taking the time this afternoon. Tricia?
Yeah, I would say 2020 was a year of great constraint and focus for me, and getting back to the basics and really just building one-on-one relationships, meeting new people. I'd say if you want to grow your business, it really comes down to meeting new people, telling them what you do, making an offer to help them. And if you're good to people, that will always come around to you. So in 2021, we are on a mission to really help 100 women launch businesses in 2021. And I can't wait to, we've already seen in our passport program, we've already seen women who, we launched a program back in October, who already have made revenue in November and December, and they started their businesses. And so we really want women to feel like they have an option. If they've been laid off or furloughed by corporate America, and they are really in a position where they want and they dream of doing something themselves, that we're a safe place for them to land, a very safe and supportive community that has strong strategy and execution, and ways to support them as they get ready to launch their businesses. So we're excited. I agree. I think it's going to be a great year, amazing year.
Very great. Thank you. Seema, how about you?
So 2020 was a challenging year. So looking forward for 2021, and also whatever desires and expectations and milestones we have not achieved in 2020, I wish and plan to do it in 2021 by creating a good pathway, getting in touch with more people and everything, just getting whatever expected or whatever I wanted to do in 2020 could not be done, needs to be fulfilled in 2021.
Very well said. And thank you so much again for the listeners. And thank you so much to all our panelists for such an insightful discussion. And if I don't tell what Vendorship does, Charlie and Sabina are going to get at me. So I just want to say thank you for Vendorship for sponsoring our monthly webinars. We make government contracting easy. So thank you again. And we please be connected and stay safe and happy holidays. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Nazira.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Nice questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
All
questions.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.